What's up, everybody? Omid, Succeed with Omid here again. I wanted to talk today a little bit about the shoulder and some of the common problems people talk about, especially when they get into this overhead position. A lot of people experience clicking, a lot of people experience a lot of tightness in the neck, a lot of lower back pain, especially in the overhead press, which I'm going to talk about today. But one of the tips I want to give you guys is it's often actually not a shoulder problem inherently. It's the shoulder experiencing the symptoms. But what ends up happening is it's actually a weakness in the glutes, a tightness in the hip flexors, and an overcompensation of the lower back. I'm going to get into a couple exercises you can do to help kind of diagnose this on yourself if you can, and then how to actually correct it. So first thing I want to talk about is the overhead position in general and how it actually is affected by the position of the hips. So I've got a really heavy weight here, a 45-pound dumbbell. I'm just going to get out of overhead. And the only reason I can hold this guy here in a carry position pretty well is because my hip is directly underneath the weight. The weight is stacked right on top of the shoulder and stuff is here. Now, some people legitimately have shoulder problems and tightness in their lats and they can't do this. I get that, okay? But the only reason I can hold this guy here and still talk to you is because I'm not falling on my back. Or, the other common one is if my back starts taking over this way and I fall forward. The position of these hips, the amount of compression I can resist here and actually load directly onto, has just as much to do with the shoulder as the lats and the traps do. One of the easiest ways to figure out where the hip should be in a lot of this position, one of my favorite exercises is just a banded overhead press. I'm going to put the middle of this band directly under my right heel. And then my left foot's going to come through the middle and forward. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring both hands behind my shoulders, not bent wrists, just completely flat. And you can already see, because my chest is straight up and my foot's behind me, this band is about 6 inches or so behind my hip. Now what happens when I press straight up, it's pulling me in this direction. I don't want that. It's impossible to do this exercise straight up and down. What we need to do is we need to get this hip underneath me and the band in line with my body. And you can actually even see that when I'm in a good position, my hip almost feels like it's behind me here, but it's not. It's directly in line, and now I can press very easily. There's no forward, there's no backwards, and I can just really feel the compression that my core is resisting here. And what ends up happening is my shoulder just finds its own groove. It doesn't really have to worry a lot about this stabilization, this rotator cuff problem, this trap problem reaching up too much, because the hip is actually doing the stabilizing job for the spine. The shoulder can just worry about pressing up overhead. And that's the common thread of this whole thing, is that what ends up happening is that the shoulders and the neck feel the instability from the hip not doing its job, and they hold us up. They start picking us up into this position to try and stabilize the spine. And the second you reach into that cupboard for a glass or something like that, the neck starts tweaking out, or you reach into the back seat, it starts tweaking out because the hip is actually not stabilizing. Once you've actually diagnosed where the hip should be, if you've got really tight hip flexors, I've got videos on how to stretch those out. The quads can be an issue here. Even the lower back can be overactive, pulling you backwards. We can release that. Or maybe it's just your abs are weak, not pulling the hip up. We can work planks and stuff to get rid of that. But once you get this position, increase the weight. What I'm going to do is, again, my butt has to drive my heel into that band, otherwise the band will pull my heel up. Driving it down, slight forward lean, and press. Now, if I even lose my back for 1 second with this heavy of a band, it will pull me. So I've really got to have that solid brace. You can bend the leg, get super forward with this. The ankle bending is the hardest part about this, as I press. And I press, hold each one for a couple seconds. Really bracing through, getting the shoulders tight. And push. The other fun way you can do this, add balance. Now I have hip flexion and hip compression here to get through that. The other thing you can also do, alternating arms. I'll do this a little bit to the side so you guys can see what I'm doing. Alternating arms. Now the obliques are involved, the inner thighs are involved. My lats, believe it or not, are actually involved here, trying to stabilize me. and not let me lean back. My glute medius is on fire here. You can even turn this into punches. Really bracing through. Any sport that has endurance to it, this will work super well for. Or you can even just do the lock. Oh, let's see if I can do this. The lock to the balance. Locked out to the balance. And now my hip has all sorts of stabilizing to do. With balance, my shoulders are on fire. My traps, believe it or not, are not working too hard here. Here, okay? It's worth saying one last time. Sometimes the shoulders are the problem. We tend to sit too much. We lean onto one side of the console when we're driving, texting with one hand, drinking our coffee with one hand. Everything can get up into the shoulder, and there could be problems here. This is not for those people. I've noticed a lot of my clients that complain about shoulder injuries is it's because they're trying to do that puppet thing and holding themselves up away from their hips because the hips aren't stable underneath them, okay? Hope this exercise is useful to you guys and you can go run with it. If you have any questions at all, let me know. Otherwise, talk to you later.